Good evening and a very happy new year to everyone. Before we begin the session, there is a small announcement. All the answer to the questions that you had sent shall be mailed to Team Collins, which shall be sent across to the participants from Collins End. To begin with, Collins Learning India welcomes one and all to the session on Introduction to Lower Secondary Checkpoint English by Mr. Abhinandan Bhattacharya. Mr. Bhattacharya is currently working as CAIE and IBDP English facilitator at JBCN International School, Oshiwara, Mumbai. He has several merits to his credit, the recent one being his certification as a National Geographic Educator. He is a published writer, a passionate traveler, and an avid reader. He is a resource person for Collins, and he is also the reviewer of Collins academic resources for CAIE English. Welcome, Mr. Bhattacharya, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Ahona. Well, that was some kind of introduction. Great. Yes, on this note, I wish a very happy new year to all the participants. We are definitely very excited to start the new year with a new normal mode and yes, with a lot of new challenges. So the first challenge being the shift from the lower secondary checkpoint erstwhile syllabus of 1111 to 0861. I remember some of you had asked me whether this is mandatory. Well, it is actually because you need to shift. And the changes in syllabus and the changes in curriculum, because that's exactly how you are creating the bridge, or rather bridging the gap to IGCSE first language English. Well, what is the webinar overview? What are we going to basically look at today? Let's have a quick understanding. The key features, when do we start teaching, that will be taken up in detail. And of course, we'll have some kind of understanding as per the schools that we are functioning and the series of exams that we take, whether it's a May-June series or the October-November series. Accordingly, we'll get your understanding for that. The schemes of work and the teacher guide. I'll not be sharing the schemes of work as such as of now over here, but as Ahona mentioned that all the resources, including this PPT, will be shared with you after the webinar. Okay, so within a couple of days, you'll be expecting a lot of resources in your mailbox. We'll discuss about the components at various stages, right from stage 7 to stage 9. We'll discuss about that. We'll talk about the sample questions that are extremely important, and we need to understand what kind of questions we need to ask. And this is something, I think, a very crucial stage where we need to get an understanding of what has been asked and what can we ask hereafter. So let's see. Now, I'm sure all the teachers who are on board with us today, they are all the members, and you have your login details to the lower secondary checkpoint website, right? So this is a site that this is exactly what it looks like, and you will find a lot of good resources right from the curricular framework to the schemes of work, the teacher guide. Everything has been shared by CAI over there. So this is a site which we must visit regularly, and it has to be used regularly because there are a lot of progression test papers, sample papers, which have been shared by CAI for our understanding. Okay, before we begin, there are certain key terms that we are going to use, and basically the umbrella understanding is we have the curriculum framework, we have the schemes of work, and of course we have the teacher guide. So these three documents are by and large the basic documents where you will find
sorry to interrupt you, Abhinandan. There are some messages that you are not audible to quite a few people.
Oh, am I not audible?
I can hear you, but there are quite a few messages that they are unable to hear you properly.
Oh my God, okay.
The volume is very low. That's what they're saying.
Okay, so I shall raise my voice then. Fine. Okay, now this is something that we are going to understand in depth. So when do we start teaching? This is our question, right? So this is what we need to understand. Right now we are in 2021. The first teaching for the new syllabus will have to begin in September 2021, rather in June 2021. So whenever, because in India, our academic year begins somewhere in June, July, right? So according to that, our new session, the teaching for the new curriculum will have to begin in June or July 2021. The exact date, it depends on whenever your school reopens for the new academic year. Now, 2022 and 2023, because if you start teaching in 2021, of course, the new batch that you start teaching after a period of 2 years, they'll be writing the examination in 2023. Okay, so this is an overall viewpoint. This is an overall understanding, and I'm sure many of us has this particular slide with us to go to the depth of the understanding. Now you might ask, what if in many of our schools in India, our learners basically take the May exam, right? They take the May, rather the April session, which is actually the May-June session for Cambridge. So they take the April session. So if your students are taking the April session, then see, if you observe very carefully, stages 7, 8, and 9, when are you supposed to start teaching? So as of now, you're completing the current syllabus because you're preparing your learners to sit for the March, April, or the April 2021 series, right? So after the April 2021 series ends, you will have to start teaching for the new curriculum. So if you observe stage 7 right now, this will end till 2021. And from July or September 2021, you are supposed to start teaching the stage 7. And that continues in 2022. Similarly, for stage 8, if you observe very carefully, the current syllabus is going on and you are teaching for stage 8 in for the new syllabus. It begins from July or September, as and when the Indian schools reopen from 2021. But the curriculum and the course content for stage 9 is still not ready. That will hit the stores and hit the market in 2022. So as a matter of fact, the stage 9 curriculum and the resources will be made available to us by the end of 2021. So for stage 9, whatever exams you're conducting and whatever exams you're taking, that will continue with the current syllabus. Please do let me know if you have any questions on this.
Yes, there is a question for you. This is from Ms. Aditi Mukherjee. How about students who are in CI 6 now and in June 2021 will be in 7?
Okay, so they will be continuing with the, they will have to start the new syllabus. That's what I'm mentioning over here. The ones who are in grade 6, you go to stage 7, so your academic year will end in May, right? So when you start the new year in June or July, that time the cohorts which are coming to grade 7, they will start with the new syllabus of stage 7. That's what I mentioned. I hope that
there is a request for a recap of this once again.
Okay. So if you look at this visual over here, the ones who are in grade 6, to stage 7, you start in grade 6. Okay. So 6, 7, and 8. At the end of grade 8, you are taking the lower secondary checkpoint board exams. Some schools opt for it, some schools do not opt for it, because the lower secondary exam is not a compulsory examination, it's a diagnostic test. Fine. Now, stage 7 means grade 6. This is something that we need to understand first. Stage 8 means grade 7, and stage 9 means for grade 8, at the end of which you take the exams, the board exams. So, now when your learners are in grade 6, you are teaching them the course book and all the resources from the stage 7 curriculum, right? So you are teaching them the current grade 5. When they come to grade 6 next year, you are introducing stage 7. The current grade 7, the current grade 6, who will graduate to grade 7 in 2021, in June, July 2021, you will start teaching the stage 8. And that is exactly where there are certain gaps in the transition that have been also taken into consideration by CIE, which I'll be discussing eventually. Is the query solved? This is predominantly for the schools who have enrolled and registered for the May series, rather the April-May session, not the October-November session.
Okay, there are two more questions. One is, what about the ones who are in grade 7 right now and coming to grade 8 in June 2021? This is one question that we have.
Please, can you come again? I couldn't listen to it properly.
What
Ahana, your voice is really breaking.
Ones who are in grade 7 right now and appear in October 22. Hello? Am I audible to you now?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, so the question is, what about the ones who are in grade 7 right now and coming to grade 8 in June 2021? Will they appear in October 2022 series?
It depends on whether your school has opted for the October series or the May series. Has your school taken up the May series or the October series? So if you have the October series, then this will be applicable for you. That's why I'm presenting the slides one after the other. So if you're entering your learners for the October exams, then this is the slide that this is the arrangement that will be applicable for you. So by that token, your new syllabus, the 0861, the teaching will only begin from January or February 2023, the ones who will come to grade 8. Okay. So if you observe, stage 9 is grade 8. So their teaching will start from January, February 2023. If you are taking the October series. Because what I understand, not many schools have opted for the October series, though we can take a kind of understanding how many schools do that. But what I know is majorly most of the schools take up the May, June, or the rather April series, wherein they finish up the curriculum and they start on with the new session. Okay. So this is the arrangement that will be followed for the cohorts or for the schools if you are entering your learners for the October-November series. So if you are currently doing with the new the current syllabus of stage 7, that's 1111, then you continue it till January 2022. From January 2022, you begin with the new syllabus. That's a new stage 7. And from January 2022, you will begin with stage 8. So if you're finishing it, if your school is opting for the October-November series, because by that time you'll be over and you need to start on with the new curriculum. But for stage 9, that's grade 8 learners, they will continue with because they have to sit for the examinations until next October. So when they write their paper, when they're assessed in October 2022 with the ongoing syllabus, that is 1111, after that, from January 2023, they will begin with 0861. Okay, so this is the arrangement. So there's a difference. Please don't get confused. This is the arrangement for the schools who are opting for the April-May session, and this is the arrangement for the ones who are going for the October-November series. Now, some of you may ask that our school, we don't take the checkpoint exams at all. Then what for us? So CI has also answered for that. If you do not take the checkpoint exams, if you only take the progression test in your internal assessments in your school, just for the promotion and stuff, then of course you continue with the current syllabus. And for all the stages, you will have to start the new syllabus from June or July 2021. Okay.
Okay, there are a few more questions.
Yes.
One is October 2021 will still be in 1111. That
Absolutely.
is okay.
If you're taking the October series, correct.
Okay. There's one question, which that means that the current grade 6 will be the first batch to take the new syllabus in May 2023.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And the students who are in grade 7, and if we take April series, what will their learning and exam pattern be?
Students who are in grade 7.
Yes. And
And
if they take the April series,
okay, so that means
then
this chart will be applicable to them. So grade 7 means your stage 8. So those who are the April series. So of course, again from uh, the new stage. So the stage 8 will be applicable to them from June or July 2021. So there it goes as per this chart.
these are
Right?
the only questions till now.
Perfect. So understanding this is something very important. So that's why CI has specially mentioned all these cohorts in the May-June series, in the October-November series, and in case you do not take, in case your learners do not write the checkpoint examinations, then what to do? Then in that case, all of them, the entire cohort, right from stage 7, that's grade 6, 7, and 8, they will start on with the new syllabus from June or July 2021. Okay? And it's a very good news that I want to share. Collins Publications has published the resources for the new syllabus much in advance. And it's a big round of applause for Team Collins and the publishers at HarperCollins. So yes, the resources are out, your teacher guide is out, your student book is out, and of course the workbook is out. At this moment on an online forum in the ebook format. We'll be releasing it in the hard copy in the format very soon. Now, this is something which is again very important that we need to understand. Our new syllabus 0861 is mapped with the National Curriculum of England for the Key Stage 3. That's what I mentioned, KS3. KS3 stands for Key Stage 3. So what are the similarities and what are the differences from the National Curriculum of England and with respect to the 0861 curriculum? Okay, so this slide will give you a detailed understanding. Now over here, where our focus attention will be needed the most. Similarities: learners following either the program should have been taught equivalent skills in the 4 curriculum areas, which we all do. The 4 components: reading, writing, then the grammar and vocabulary, and spoken English. Spoken English because we want to enhance the speaking and listening skills as well. Okay, the speaking component is of course very important. Not that they're tested over here, but then they need to apply in the real life situations. Although the National Curriculum for English program of study has an additional strand, grammar and vocabulary, compared with Cambridge, the content maps well between the 2 curricula. Something that is very important to mention at this stage is the new syllabus 0861 lays a lot of emphasis on grammar, and definitely we'll come to know in the subsequent slides, it pays a lot of attention to literature. So though you're not teaching them, many schools, they do not have literature as a separate component or a separate subject, but I also know so many schools which do that, which is very good. So introduction of English literature will be extremely necessary for the new syllabus, the new component 0861. However, the differences that are found, like some aspects of the Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum that are not covered by the National Curriculum of England program study, but which are prevalent in our 0861 curriculum, of course, which is reading, collating, summarizing, synthesizing, which we all have been doing. There's not much of a difference if you observe, but there's a little bit of in-depth understanding. And I'll show you the gaps in the transition wherein they, in the curriculum framework, they have clearly identified what is expected out of the learners at the end of the particular stage, or rather at the end of a particular grade. Okay, so summarizing, synthesizing information for comprehension, explicit meaning, implicit meaning, reading for understanding, these we are already any which way teaching our learners. Something which they have mentioned is identifying and commenting. So commentary is something that they have laid a lot of emphasis on this time, which has been drawn parallel to the writer's effects. So that is something which is very important. See, middle school teachers like grade 6, 7, and 8, you are the masters. You need to be experts. You are creating the entire cohort for IGCSE thereafter. That's exactly why I mentioned the links to IGCSE FLE for this syllabus is very, very strong. It has always been, because you are creating the learners, you are teaching the learners the basic fundamentals which they will be able to reproduce further at an advanced level at the IGCSE first language English. So now with this curriculum, they really laid a lot of emphasis on writer's effects. Let's look at the writing strand, writing to establish. Now they have identified a lot of elements of writing to inform, writing to explain, writing to describe, writing to persuade, writing to discuss, writing to argue. There's so many aspects of writing from various viewpoints, developing a lot of voices, as they mentioned over here, expressing multiple viewpoints, perspectives, developing and sustaining distinctive voices, both personal and for different characters, sustaining a fast, fluent, and legible handwriting style. So again, enabling our learners to write properly in a fluent manner, in a legible manner, that's an important prerequisite. Speaking and listening, of course, we want to develop their speaking skills when they are, participating in class discussions. They are putting forth their ideas. They're speaking up their thoughts, because that will give a lot of clarity to our learners how to process the thoughts, how to shape the words into sentences, into some meaningful constructions, and put forth in the class discussion. Okay. There are some differences to note over here. Studying specific texts, such as the works of Shakespeare, is a requirement of the National Curriculum of England, Key Stage 3 English Program of Study, but is not required by Cambridge curriculum. However, now a lot of attention needs to be paid to the contradiction or contradictory connective. However, the Cambridge curriculum is flexible and allows teachers to choose their own texts. So we have the liberty to choose your text, teach them literature, because literature is something which is very important. I know many schools do that. If I may just randomly ask some inputs from teachers who are teaching literature, how is the response and how is the experience at your schools? Ahana, if you may just help me understand if there is a...
Sure, I will do that. Okay, I'm yet to receive responses from the teachers. However, there is one more question for you.
Okay.
Do we have checkpoint exam scheduled for 2021 April?
Honestly, I do not think I am eligible to answer that question, because it completely depends on the existing government regulations, and it also depends on the coronavirus situation. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I cannot answer that question. It's not within my capacity to answer that. If something is changed, of course, CIE, please keep a watch on the CIE website and on the, I'm sure you must have subscribed to CIE News Network portal as well. So they really send weekly updates. So every week, like at least in my email inbox, I do get weekly updates from CIE. So whatever has changed, or if some kind of announcements have been made, so you get the notifications to that effect.
Okay, now there are responses to your question. Shraddha Bajpai ma'am, she writes, children do take more interest if any literature topic is covered, like prose, poem, or any drama extract. And Ankur sir says that we consider all genres of writing styles as long as the literature pieces are relevant. We also introduced Shakespeare at stage 9 level for steady in transition. There's a variety of interest level among students in our school.
Excellent, excellent. Which school is this? I know.
I'll wait for Ankur sir to answer. By the time Natasha ma'am writes, prose and poetry as literature is necessary and welcome.
Yes.
Okay, then yes, in DY Patil, we have literature included in our our school curriculum. This is because necessary because of IGCSE has literature.
Great. Yes.
Then Divya ma'am says not enough interest shown by children for literature and prose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anku sir is from HIX.
Okay. Fine.
That's Gurgaon.
Great.
Miss Lalita Deb, she says that close reading and reference to the context in the text extracts help the children in their critical and analytical skill.
Excellent.
And Pushpa ma'am says it's important to introduce writers and
Yeah, it is very important. So, thank you, Ahana, so much for that.
expose various masterpieces, and there are so many.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Atmosphere point of view from irony, and it's essential to have students do literature. It's a collection of short stories and poems.
Great. Thank you so much, Ahana, for that quick input. I really thank all the participants who have actually shared that idea with us on board, and that's really interesting. Because yes, as one of you mentioned, I remember the gap that you need to bridge, and the transition that you need to understand, monitor to IGCSE First Language English when they do world literature or even the 0475 English literature. That's really remarkable. That's necessary. So over here, that's precisely why the new syllabus 0861 has laid a lot of emphasis on literature as well as on grammar and vocabulary. So the learners need to read, and the learners can get a lot of insights into understanding of language. I remember some of you in the questions, you have asked me, how do we teach first language English, or how do we engage learners to read? See, there is no separate chapter to explain or to teach how to read. There is active reading and there is passive reading. There are the two kinds of reading. Now, between these two kinds of reading, we need to figure out what works best for us. And of course, we need to do model reading in school as well. And that's why I believe lower secondary checkpoint level, grades 6, 7, 8, they are the foundation years wherein you can develop all these skills in the learners. So just to quickly wind up over here, the differences. Cambridge expects that teaching of nonverbal communication will include more than just dramatic context. And Cambridge expects that reading aloud will not be limited to dramatic texts. So you can read aloud other texts as well. So it's not just a play of Shakespeare. I know many schools teach Macbeth or other plays of Shakespeare at grade 8. They introduce that, which is very good, which is fine. But then try to bring in a lot of active learning strategies, a lot of reading strategies, wherein the learners will get the opportunity to understand, have a voice for themselves. How to establish various multiple perspectives and viewpoints, and to sustain that distinctive voice. That is something which is very important. This is if you go on the ebook site, which Collins sends every month. This is the 7th or the 8th month now that, yes, Collins has been working so hard and providing the ebook login details so generously to be used by all the teachers worldwide. So please do take note of these. This is a new syllabus, the 0861 curriculum, where you have the student's book and the workbook made available. You also have the teacher's guide referenced out over there. So it's just a ready-made repository. I remember in one of the questions someone asked, where can we get the repository of resources? So Collins has given you. The answer is over there. Now, this is something that we need to understand, very, very important. When you talk about your current grade 5, moving on to grade 6, or grade 6 moving on to grade 7, when they will not have there's a gap, when they will not read the new syllabus stage 7, basically the ones who are in grade 7 now, grade 6, and they'll come to grade 7. So for them, they are directly jumping to stage 8, and they're missing out on stage 7, or vice versa. The ones who are in grade 6, grade 5 coming to grade 6, and they are missing out on the new current grade 7 and the gap, because they're directly jumping to 0861. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we fill that gap? So this is what CI has recommended for us over here. What are the basic elements which are new? So this table basically talks about that. The table below lists the significant gaps in knowledge, skills, and understanding that learners transitioning to the new stage 7 curriculum are likely to have, and the key areas that should be covered to help to ensure a successful transition. For each gap, at least one relevant learning objective code, that's in bold in brackets, has been provided, so you can identify activities in the schemes of work to help address the gap. So if some of you do not have access to the schemes of work, as I mentioned, I'll be sharing that with Team Collins, which will be passed on to you. Okay, so let's see, what are they asking us in stage 7? What is new over there in stage 7? Deduce the meanings of unfamiliar words in context using a range of strategies, including knowledge of word families, maybe word clusters, etymology, morphology. So this is something, building up with the comprehension, precisely. We are helping them with the explicit meaning and deducing of implicit meaning. That's very important. Of course, you're using context to work out the meaning of any unfamiliar words and phrases. So something which is, again, gradually necessary for writer's effects, like implicit understanding, unfamiliar words. Why did the writer use this word over here? What is the purpose? So knowing the purpose and the audience, again, is very important. Comment on the ways in which a writer uses non-standard English. Maybe the writer has not used very high falutin language or very standard English, uses non-standard English. So how do you comment on that? So there's a commentary section. Again, you're talking about the effect produced and the commentary on the usage of words and language, the linguistic and the literal devices. Look for examples in dialogue of non-standard forms of English. Of course, when there is some kind of narrative, if there is some kind of story, there's a non-standard form of English. So discuss why these are present in dialogue and not in a narrative. Because in a narrative, the writer cannot write, because that's not the right platform to write non-standard English, because that is not supposed to be used. We are supposed to be using a standard English and not colloquial language. And that's why only in dialogues, when characters are engaging in a dialogue or exchanging words in direct quotes, we can use in a non-standard English. Okay, because that shows also the viewpoints of the character. That shows a lot about the character as well. So those are some of the factors or parameters that we can use to evaluate the character eventually. Identify and comment on the variety of ways in which the content of text can be organized and linked to intended purpose, including paragraphs. Explore how writers organize and link ideas in both fiction and non-fiction. So, prima facie, let me explain to you the two papers, they still remain the same. We have paper 1 as non-fiction, 50 marks, 1 hour and 10 minutes. We have paper 2, fiction, 50 marks, 1 hour and 10 minutes. So the standard of the exam style remains same. But the content there's a little change, shift here and there, one block here, one block there. More or less it's same, but then the changes need to be understood. Ahana, do we have any questions so far?
There is one question so far. Just a minute, I'll read it out for you. Would the 2021 Stage 7 students be the first batch to be tested for the new curriculum?
Oh, come again, what is that? Would the Stage 7?
Would the 2021 Stage 7 students be the first batch to be tested for the new curriculum?
Yes. That's why the first teaching is September 2021.
Okay. And there's one more question. Is there any change in the nature of, just a minute.
Nature of the questions, you mean?
Nature of the questions in the new paper pattern.
There are, the style has not changed. The structuring of the questions has not changed. You still have section A and section B you still have, for 0 and 6, when I'm talking about the new syllabus, you still have two passages in paper 1, insert, which is non-fiction paper, passage text A and text B, and you need to answer section A, 25 marks, based on text A and text B, and the writing section, section B, 25 marks separately. So that's still there. What has changed, or what has differed is, or what has become a little more challenging is the kind of questions asked. So we shall be discussing in the forthcoming slides.
Okay, there is one more question. If exam pattern is same, then the listening and speaking skills will not be assessed.
No, it will not be assessed.
Okay.
Listening and speaking was never assessed in the lower secondary checkpoint English. It's assessed for English as a second language at lower secondary checkpoint, which I doubt any school in India, or I know a couple of schools do take English as a second language at lower secondary checkpoint, but apart from that, I don't think any school does that. Okay.
Okay. The next question is checkpoint exam going to be cumulative of 7, 8, and 9 in new syllabus?
Yes, absolutely. It's always for 3 stages combined. It's not 7, 8, and 9. It's grade 6, 7, and 8. It's stages 7, 8, and 9. Right?
Okay. The next question is for 0876. What is the change in paper 3 writing?
I'm sorry, 0876.
What is the change in paper 3 writing?
Paper 3? Why paper 3?
That's what it is written.
And why 0876? I am currently dealing with 0861. Let's address the questions. Let's ask our questions which are relevant and not any other component, please.
Okay.
Okay.
We have another question. What all forms of writing styles are covered in section B of paper 1, non-fiction?
Yeah. So you basically, it's non-fiction, so you can get a letter, you have magazine article, you have diary, you have journal, you have speech, you have essay, you have account. So these are the various forms of writing styles that can be asked. Okay. So we'll take the next questions later on. Ahana, I will continue with this as of now.
Sure. Please.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the gaps that you need to bridge for the new stage 7 teaching, which is for grade 6. Please do ensure that for the writing strand, you use a wide range of understanding for purpose and audience. Use notes, note making, help the learners to understand how important note making is, because summary writing, the strand is still there. Grammar is something which is very important. So something that I would really recommend at this stage for all the teachers, or if there are any HODs over here, then please introduce at least one period or one teaching session of grammar in a week. If you're already doing that, pat yourself on the back. If you're not doing that, please incorporate that session, because teaching grammar exclusively will be very important, because some of our learners and some of in our classes, we do not teach grammar exclusively, which is going to be a little difficult. So as you were mentioning some kind of questions, so I've taken up some specimen questions from the new syllabus, stage 7 paper. Okay, so if you observe over here, the multiple choice kind of question, how is this information text structured? Now, to understand this question and or to successfully answer this question, the child needs to know what is an information text, or rather, why do we write to inform? And Collins resources have taken up these components extensively, in depth. If you go to stage 7 book, the course book, you have a separate chapter, like writing to inform. And that's the best thing that Collins resources have done. So they've curated each and every component so wonderfully that you will not face any struggle. You will not face any trouble with whatever you're working with. It's already so clear. Okay, someone raised their hand. Yeah, can I have the question? Shefali
Okay.
Tawari.
Yes. Before that, Abhinandan, there are two more questions. One is report writing included in the writing section?
Oh yes, yes, yes. I did miss that out. Yes, report writing is very much there.
Okay. So we're waiting for ma'am to type her question.
Okay. So in the meantime, if you look at this particular slide, uh, so this is exactly how they're talking about punctuations. So if you look at this particular question, number 9, look at line 12 in text B. Why has a colon been used? Give one reason. So it's just a 1 mark question. And if the answer is right, you get full mark. If the answer is wrong, it's 0. There's no half marking in Cambridge, right? So why has a colon been used? Is it to suggest a list of things, or is it to add some extra information out here, or to show a progression of thoughts? So what is the purpose of using a colon in that particular line? They've been very specific. The next question is, why has a dash been used in line number 13? Now a dash is a punctuation mark. It could be used for multiple purposes. There could be multiple objectives for using a dash. So why has a dash been used specifically in line number 13? So they need to have clear understanding. So comprehension is again something which is very important. Okay. Ahana, do we have the question from Ms. Shefali?
Not yet. I
Okay.
have asked her to unmute, but then I think she is not even unmuted. So you can carry on. If there's a question, I'll read
Yes,
it out to you.
you can type it out, no problem.
Yes.
Okay, so these are some of the questions, uh, and the specimen papers are available on the Cambridge site. So I would request all of you, uh, please procure your login details from your Cambridge Lower Secondary Coordinator, and do your homework. It's very important. Scan through the question papers, scan through the kind of questions asked, and on the basis of that, you will be in a position to frame and prepare your own question paper. Believe me, that's the best thing to do, because for lower secondary checkpoint, at least from 2023 first examination till 2023, you will till 2022 October November, you will have access to the past papers of 1111. But from 2023, you will not have access to 1111 papers at all. So you will have access to 0861 papers. So it's better you start preparing for 0861, because your learners will take their first examination. So now the next 2 years, starting from June or July 2021, you need to focus on 0861, right? Okay. So yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. I've taken a screenshot from the Collins student book, stage 7, wherein see they have identified what is informative writing. So the learners need to know there are texts. Snippets have been taken. Text A. This is like uh, from a children's book, an information text, and this information has been taken from like text B from a newspaper article. And look at the kind of questions asked. What presentation features can you identify? What do you notice about the length of paragraphs and sentences in text B? The title of text B is Iceland Volcano Warning. So what do you notice about the length of paragraphs? If you have a quick reading, I know it's too small to read, but then uh, you can still make out. I'll read out for you though. A huge volcano in Iceland could erupt and bring air travel in Europe to a standstill. Scientists have reported that Orafagikul volcano in Iceland is on the brink of a major eruption. Experts have detected over 100 earthquakes in the area in the past week and raised the volcano safety code to yellow. So, of course, the passage is further subdivided with a subheading, Volcanoes in Iceland. But it's a short text. Collins resources, the joy of using Collins resources is you get to lay your hands on a wide range of text types and a wide range of texts with a lot of questions as exercises. And the rigor of the exercise really is challenging. It really prepares, because these are exactly exam style question set. If you happen to look at question number 6A, how does the opening paragraph provide a factual summary of the news story? Aha. So it's like, inducing some critical thinking over there. So the learners are just not focused on finding the superficial understanding or explicit meaning. It's like an in-depth. So how does the opening paragraph provide a factual summary of the news story? Again, in this case, something which is very, very essential is to help our learners underline the keywords and then proceed. Okay, so if you use these resources, they are really going to benefit you big time because they'll help the learners think, rack their brains. You can actually take up healthy discussions in class, peer learning, use think, pair, share activities, use see, think, wonder. Basically, this could also be a wonderful see, think, wonder exercise over here, right? So this is exactly how you can actually take forward with the activities. Moving on to stage 8, students book and workbook, as I mentioned earlier. Now, these are the gaps in the transition. Stage 8, you will have a lot of focus on punctuation, writer's choice, writers conveying meanings, wide range of techniques that the writers use. When we're talking about techniques, there are certain things that learners should know by the end of stage 7, by the end of stage 6. A wide range of literary devices, appropriate measures, how to use the figures of speeches, or at least identify, recognize figures of speeches and comment on the impact of the figures of speech. Okay, if you observe over here, there's some stand says the second one over here, identifying the impact of bias. So of course we're teaching them, writing to argue, writing to persuade, where there is an element of bias. We talk about magazine articles or maybe a speech, or a letter. You find there's an element of bias involved over there. What kind of questions could you put forth to the learners to ensure that this will result in a suitable learning outcome? Okay, writing styles, create content to suit a wide range of audience. So of course, we talk about purpose and audience eventually. Different kinds of audience, identifying audience, formality, the register that is needed. So while writing, they must ensure that they use a wide range of sentence structures and not using non-standard English or colloquial English to just somehow scribble their thoughts. That might not be necessary. Sample questions that I've taken from stage 8 paper. If you observe over here, dealing with punctuation, as I showed in the previous slide, they're focusing a lot on teaching grammar, teaching punctuation, and other stuff. So if you look at question number 6 over here, why does the writer uses dashes for 2 different reasons? Now, say under exam conditions, it might be right. So why does the writer use a dash in line number 31? And then the question says, why does the writer use dash in line number 29? And there are 2 different reasons for it. Maybe in one of the dashes, the writer uses it to just show some kind of interruption of thought. And in another line, the writer uses it to just add some extra information. So these are various reasons. So you need to teach grammar, reasons why the punctuation has been used, reasons why a semicolon has been used, reasons why inverted commas have been used. And that brings me to the next question. Why has a writer used inverted commas? Is he trying to lay emphasis on something? That's why we want to lay a lot of emphasis on that. Or we want to just bring it to some kind of particularity or categorize that thing specifically, right? So these are some of the kind of questions that were never asked before. I mean, not at least in the 1111 recent syllabus, in the past 3-4 years. And then
okay.
Yeah.
There are some questions, Abhinandan. One is students who are going to stage 7 who will be starting with 0861. How to bridge the gap? Should there be a bridge course or should be integrated in the teaching itself?
No, it is integrated in the teaching itself. That's why the stage 7 book, okay, it has been curated in such a manner that you will find all the gaps have been bridged. So my strong recommendation, use the Collins resources. That's a one-stop solution for you, like for all your answers. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
like, yeah, this is a snapshot I've taken from Stage 8 book of Collins. So if you see, using punctuation for effect, how to use colons, where not to use colons, where to use commas accurately. So there are separate exercises. Now, with when you use Collins resources, you just don't need anything else. I remember someone has asked the question when we are filling the form or registering for this webinar. Someone asked, how do we teach the components? Or someone, okay, yes, someone asked whether schemes of work are important or not. I mean, see, schemes of work are broader concepts to help us understand how a lesson plan should look. Now, you can adapt your lesson plans the way you want. But if you use Collins resources, the teacher guide, each and every chapter, each and every topic, each and every component, the lesson plans are out there, along with the PPTs and worksheets. So you give them to the learners, you help them with this kind of questions and exercise in the class. You see how your learners enjoy, right? This is transitioning to new stage 9. Now, the resources for stage 9 are still in progress. We are working on, Team Collins is working on that. The results will be out soon by the end of this year, hopefully. Okay, so what are the things that we are trying to focus in grade 8, that's stage 9? Because now after grade 8, you jump to IGCSE. So there is a huge leap, right? So what are the elements that we focus on? Of course, wide range of sentence structures. That is something which they have identified, they've emphasized over here. Identifying simple, compound, complex sentences. Compound complex sentences, either using simple sentences. Why the writer has used simple sentence over here? Why the writer has used complex sentences over here? What is the purpose? Is he trying to show some flow of thoughts in progress? Or is he trying to create some kind of dramatic effect by use of a simple sentence or a very short sentence? Or maybe at times it's just one word sentence. So what is the writer trying to suggest? Is it some kind of emphasis or some kind of reaction to evoke, or is it some kind of dramatic impact? So all these elements, they need to be discussed in class. Use judiciously chosen textual references to develop the analysis of text. That's very important. Identify and discuss techniques writers use to distinguish between different voices in the text. In the writing strand, if you observe, make conscious use of linguistic and literary techniques to shape the intended meaning and effect. Use a range of linguistic and literary techniques to create effect. So if you observe the writing strand, basically, we are inching towards writer's effect. And you have a lot of questions on writer's effects in your lower secondary checkpoint 0861 paper. These are some of the questions, some specimen questions from stage 9 paper. Stage 9 paper has been published. So we know we want to expect what kind of teaching has to go in. I've taken up this, this one, multiple choice question over here. In the second sentence, the words "to attract the bees" link the first and second sentences. So what kind of connective is this? Now this is for a child of grade 8. It might be a little tricky under exam conditions, but if you prepare the child thoroughly, it will be a cakewalk. So do you think that that kind of a connective is meant for a comparison or an explanation or an example or an addition? Right? Why does a writer separate the direct speech into two parts? Now there could be multiple reasons. Why do you separate direct speech into two parts? Maybe just to lay a lot of focus or attention or emphasis on the second part of the speech or the first part of the speech. It could be anything. That's why the split has been made so evident. The next question again on grammar, punctuation basically. Why does the writer's use of an exclamation mark, what does the writer's use of an exclamation mark tell the reader about Jamie, the character? Is he surprised? Is he left to wonder? Is he anticipating something? Or is he relieved? There could be so many things. So these elements of comprehension skills will be developed only through a lot of practice and a lot of, when you take up the rigor of exercises from the resources made available. Something which is remarkable is if you observe this enjoy reading in the name of the unit over here says enjoy reading. College resources have been curated in such a manner, the stage 7 and stage 8 course books as of now, every unit, every chapter has a section called enjoy reading. The college has different, we have evolved a lot over the past years. Earlier, I know there were certain excerpts in the course books which were short, but now a fascinating and a very beautiful thing with Collins resources is you have long excerpts, long extracts, which allows students to enjoy reading. And then you have the comprehension and exam style questions asked at the end of every unit. And these can be taken up so quick in the class. If you look at the kind of grammar questions asked, on the go you can ask, if you teach them grammar thoroughly, what sort of word is it? A verb or an adjective or an adverb or a noun? Does it contain a prefix or suffix you know already? Does the context help? Look at the rest of the sentence. What is happening? So again, very specific questions have been asked, which will help critical thinking. This is something with the teacher guide, which is again available on the Collins site. Okay, Collins ebooks. The teacher's guide for stage 7 and stage 8, they are so detailed, and I've taken a snapshot from the teacher's guide just for your reference, how it looks. So how to use the student's book, it's given on one side, and how to use the teacher's guide. So you have inclusive learning taken care of, you have differentiation learning taken care of, you have all the other perspectives taken care of in the teacher guide with PPT references that could be resorted to. So use the teacher guide for Collins, order the books as and when they're available, and I think your library was in the school will look great after this. This is a snapshot that I've taken up from the contents page of the lower secondary checkpoint Collins books, how they look like, the student book. So what are the basic elements you find the content? If you observe, every unit has this enjoy reading section, as I mentioned at the beginning. So there is a lot, full length text which the readers, which the learners will enjoy reading, and then a lot of good exercises. You have, let's take up this one, chapter 2 over here. It shows us what is writing to explain. Okay, exploring how explanations are structured, using formal and informal language in explanation types. They have asked questions like these in the exams for the new syllabus. Collating and summarizing information from two texts. They asked that as well in lower secondary checkpoint. So you are basically teaching them all the skills and all the components which will eventually be necessary for your IGCSE first language English. So I feel the new syllabus 0861 is really challenging in more ways than one, because of the challenge that is embedded in the student's book, and of course how you have to plan your lessons eventually. If you again look at chapter 1 over here, I just caught sight of this amazing thing, using punctuation for effect, writing your own character description, exploring how writers use techniques to describe characters. They're so well collated over here. Writing to argue and persuade, writing your own persuasive letter. So everything, I know someone asked me the question, what are the styles for creative writing? You have it over here. So this is a webinar, so I'm not conducting a full-fledged workshop over here. When I have a workshop, I take up stand-wise. Okay. Someone asked me about writer's effect as well. So please go through my webinar, Collins webinar on writer's effects. It's a detailed webinar where in each and every strand, how to even structure your writer's effects has been explained with resources I've shared over there. These are the curriculum framework strands that someone asked that you may use for reading and writing. So learners develop understanding of spelling strategies, patterns and rules, and apply them in their writing. Learners in the reading section, if you observe, we focus on language and vocabulary. So I'm not reading through it thoroughly, each and every word, because it will take time. That's why I have put them in bold typeface. So what are the specific components? What are the key elements that I am supposed to be focusing on in my class? Okay, for texts, how do they relate to purpose and audience? I have to identify those elements. If I'm talking about grammar and punctuation, how am I using my sorry, how am I using my grammar and punctuation knowledge and skill to shape the writing for purpose and effect? Okay, while reading, the learners need to know how the ideas are organized, how are they sequenced, and how are they connected in the text for clarity, cohesion, and impact. When they're writing, they need to develop skills in organizing, sequencing, and connecting ideas in their writing, again for clarity, cohesion, and impact. When they're reading, talk about broadened experience, comparison, reflection, and evaluation. So with evaluation, if they compare, reflect, and evaluate, naturally that's going to transpire into their writing as well. So these are the broad curriculum framework strands that have been identified in the new syllabus 0861. This is something
Okay. Before you move on, there are questions.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do we have changes in paper 1 and paper 2, both, or it is majorly in paper 1?
Changes with respect to what?
I believe the changes with respect to the questions, the patterns, because this came up when you were discussing the questions.
Okay. So yeah, these are in both the papers, both paper 1 and paper 2, across stages 7 to 9. So
Okay.
the kind of specimen questions I've taken up, both from both paper 1 and paper 2.
Okay. The next question is stage 9 students of 2022 will then continue with previous curriculum for May assessment. Please clarify.
Stage 9, yes, you're right. Stage 9 students as of now will continue with the present curriculum.
Okay. Then we have a question. I think this Manish will be able to answer. Will Collins provide a sample copy of all 3 stages along with the workbook and teacher's guide so that the books can be
provided? Collins has already provided the login details and the password. For every month, Collins has been doing it.
Okay.
In case,
and then
of course, I'll send that from my end, or Team Collins will do that. No problem.
Okay. The one that you had mentioned about your webinar, the detailed workshop, was it in the one meant for the IGCSE pattern writers effect questions?
Yes, it was on writers effect IGCSE first language English. So if you
Okay.
just go on YouTube and type out Collins webinar on writers effect, you will immediately find that.
Okay. That's all for now.
Okay, great. So now this particular slide is very important because it will let us know what kind of texts the CIE want us to explore and teach our learners right from stages 7 to stage 9. So as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of emphasis on literature. So for fiction text, we use a lot of novels, range of pre-20th century fiction text, poetry, narrative and non-narrative poetry, sonnets, can use both Shakespeare and Petrarchan, thematic poetry, poetry focusing on how structure and language are used together to support meaning, a selection of poetry from one poet. Maybe you can just take one poet also and compare the poems from their oeuvre. Oeuvre means the body of work. Okay, it's oeuvre is a term which means body of work. Considering their voice and thematic choices, a range of pre-20th century contemporary drama. You can use for non-fiction, as I mentioned. These are your basic objectives, or rather the purposes why you teach non-fiction text. Text with political language, text with different cultures, bias text, of course, text to persuade, argue, advise, inform, explain, describe, analyze, review, discuss, narrate, and entertain. So you'll find a lot of text, mix and match from newspapers, magazines, scores of literature available around us. Pick up and use them in the classes. Believe me, that's some kind of active learning that we can actually bring into our classrooms, and not always resorting to Cambridge Cambridge endorsed resources. You can create your own resources. Why not? Okay. The progression of learning. This is how what your learners by the end of stage 7 and stage 8 and stage 9 should be thorough with the reading and writing learning objectives. So by the end of stage 7, they should be able to understand at least the linguistic and literary techniques used to create effect in specific context. Okay, they must be aware of terms, linguistic, literary terms, techniques, right, like assonance, sibilance, and to differentiate between the types of phonetic repetition. So, in stage 7 means we're talking about grade 6 over here. Stage 8, explain possible interpretations, explicit and implicit, of a writer's use of linguistic and literary techniques. So, why hyperbole suggests a character's attitude? How is oxymoron used to emphasize on a particular point? And in stage 9, by the stage 9, of course, we're dealing with a lot of writer's effects over here. So develop precise perceptive analysis of how linguistic and literary techniques are used. Perceptive analysis, so you're analyzing. You're more on analytical thing, explaining how euphemisms conceal bias in a political statement. So you're giving them higher order thinking text over there. Why a particular idiom is used by a character. So what is the purpose? What is the objective? So see, these are the challenges. So these things were not taught earlier in 1111. So probably you could start bridging that gap by incorporating all these elements bit by bit. This is something which someone asked, how do we build the repository of resources? Use a range of good quality, age-appropriate text for each stage. Your fiction, I've already shared with you the kind of text that Cambridge wants you to take up with your learners. Use that as a stimulus and create your own resources, build your own resources, texts in print, digital formats, so that learners become familiar with their different features. Help them annotate the text in the classroom. Give them, maybe someone also asked me how to use all this in the virtual classroom setup. You have a lot of apps nowadays, a lot of software. So you have Edmodo, you have Peer Deck, you have Jamboard. You can use these apps. You have Mentimeter as well. Use these apps to create your resources over there. They're really helpful. Text in formats to suit activities with different group sizes. You can use for whole class activities by creating breakout rooms. You can divide the classroom into groups or pairs and then use a kind of activity over there. Also, it will be useful for you to have a bank of fiction, non-fiction texts. So please do your research and development throughout the year. We still have time, to start the new syllabus in July or September 2021. So we still have time till that period. So why don't we curate a lot of resources, make them handy. Whatever resources you come across, newspaper report, take a snapshot or gradually start typing out your resources and create a bank. That will really help. And this is I think the last couple of slides over here. Asking the right questions. How do we ask the questions in the classroom when we're teaching? Use open questions instead of closed ones. Ask, instead of asking, do you like this character? Ask, what do you like about this character? That will provide opportunity for some more understanding. That will also help in critical thinking. Okay? Because if you just ask, do you like this character? It will be either yes or no. It will not elicit sufficient response thereafter. So the explanation bit will be truncated. Establish a focus without assuming a definite response. So instead of asking, why is this a good sentence to describe the character? Because if you say that, you're automatically answering yourself, oh, this is a good sentence. So you're not leaving any option for the learner to think why it is a good sentence. But if you ask, do you think this is a good sentence to describe the character? If yes, why? If no, why not? So that kind of a question could actually help in the classroom to enable them to think. And finally, some tips that I can give you. Do not give options unless there are only options available. Now, if you have more than one alternative, give them. Don't just stick to just one option. Allow sufficient space for critical thinking to happen. That's something very important. We talk about critical thinking a lot, but we barely manage to put them into a classroom practice. But it's time we do that. I know many of us we do that. Ask one thing at a time. Limit your questions to one sentence. If you ask, say for example, how does a text reveal or help you understand about the character and the settings, and the learner will be confused. No, because they have to think about the character and the setting. But if you just focus on, say, how does this current text help you develop or help you know about the character, then in that case, the learner will focus, and then proper answers can be also given. Listen actively. So, active listening and passive listening. Often, what we do is teachers we speak a lot. At times, we teachers need to take a back seat and be on the other side. Listen, let's see what the learners have to share with us. So that will also hone their speaking skills. And finally, encourage learners to ask you questions. So instead of, we often have a habit, we ask at the end of a session, okay, learners, any questions? No. Let's change that strategy probably. We could probably ask the learners, I want each one of you to ask me at least 2 questions with respect to what we studied today, or with respect to any component that you find that you have been studying and you found it quite difficult or challenging. And when you put it like that, I want 2 learners, or I want each learner to ask at least 2 questions. Each one of them is thinking. But if you ask any questions, even as adults in webinars and seminars, if I ask, okay, any questions, they will say, no, we don't have any questions. It's like a herd mentality that we have developed. And this is the last slide. This is taken on the teacher guide. With respect to the purpose that we have, what are the example questions that we can ask? Okay, to clarify, to get an overview of learners' prior experience, to check learners whether they have understood the particular concept or not, and decide what to do next. Okay, by understanding by checking their understanding of it, to clarify, extend, or evaluate the learner's own ideas and other learners' ideas, to consider the approaches, to show a variety of strategies and to make the reasoning explicit, to involve the whole class or to consolidate the ideas, to inform further inquiry. So all these are purposes. Now, based on these, we can now start working on our lesson plans or the schemes of work as in how we deem fit. Okay, say for example, the question is asked, when you're discussing a text, how does the author describe so and so? Prompt questions, keep your questions ready. Believe me, the art of asking the right question is so important. That leads to a very successful classroom. Okay, why do you think the author chose that language? And ask. You can add your own question over there. Why do you think the author did not choose this particular phrase? Now you do your homework. Prepare a phrase in that context that you think could have also worked, but then the writer chose or the author chose not to. So try to elicit responses. That will help them think. Okay, if you look at the third example, you told us the character's actions were accidental. Why do you think that? So find the evidences, because they ask you an example, even in IGCSE. Pick up a suitable example or suitable evidence from the text to support your response, to support your answer. So why do you think that? It's not just limited to answering why, but also reasoning out further. If you have a whole class feedback, what did the 2 texts have in common? Who agrees? Who disagrees? And why? And then you can give them a task. Okay, fine. Then jot down all the points that you agree on and jot down all the points that you disagree on. Okay. And what else do the 2 texts have in common? Is there something else that we found out over here? Maybe something as a teacher I have missed out, but you'd spotted, somebody else spotted it. So write it out. And when you're evaluating a text, something again very important, how could we improve this piece of writing? Any piece of writing can always be improved, right? So some of the learners can have a penchant for good writing, they have a flair for good writing. So then ask, how would you make an alternate ending or a different ending to this particular text? Do you want to add something else? Of course, this can be used only in case of fiction work. Okay, mostly. So if you want to change the narrative, how would you do that? What kind of language would you use? What kind of literary techniques would you incorporate over there? So these things will generally help the learners a lot. With that, we come to the end of it, and I always ended my sessions with this particular quote by George Couros. The curriculum tells you what and not how. How is in the arts in education. So a lot depends on the metacognitive skills. Metacognition is very important. We need to teach them how. As teachers, we need to talk about how we are teaching what we have. We have resources. Believe me, if you want, I'll give you resources. I'll give you ample resources. But what will you do with those resources? They are even readily available otherwise. If you know how to put those resources into use, that will really make it quite interesting. And that's exactly what makes the difference. You can take a lot of assessments, but assessments, the objective assessment should be valid. Take up specific assessments, formative ones, be consistent with it, give positive feedback, provide feedback. Of course, ensure the time relevance. That's important. Again, time management is again important. And of course, if you have to talk about grammar and vocabulary, which the new syllabus 0861 talks about and advocates the idea strongly, I would suggest Collins Dictionary is the best one. Even in online classes, someone asked me, how do we incorporate that kind of teaching, active learning strategies? Ask children to look up www.collinsdictionary.com, and you will find it's a fantastic way to develop your vocabulary. Okay, so with that, I'll come to the end of the webinar. I think I've taken a little more time as usual. If any questions, or apart from after the webinar, if you want to reach out to me, reach out to Collins. These are our email IDs. You're most welcome. I will be always answering your emails. If you want me to share resources, I'll do that as well. No problem. So on that note, I request Ahana to let me know.
Yes, Abhinandan, there are quite a few questions. One, does the teacher guide have answers to the questions?
Yes, it does have.
Okay. Then we have a question where, what to be taught for the current grade 7 going to grade 8 in 2021 if the books are not ready?
For the current grade 8, you are teaching the current syllabus itself. Because the current grade 8 going to current grade 7 going to grade 8. Did you ask that?
Yes.
Yeah. So current grade 7 going to grade 8 will continue with the same syllabus. 1111.
Okay. The next question is, do we follow the old syllabus for stage 9 students this year?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I answered. So you follow the old syllabus for stage 9 students. That's grade 8.
Okay. Then we have the question. You have already shared the contact details and other things. So, okay, I think this is for Manish, that how do we get the login details of the resources from Collins?
I think I would also request Manish sir to share the Google form because that is really important. Based on that, we are also planning to come up with comprehensive workshops from Team Collins. So I'll be taking up certain workshops with respect to IGCSE First Language English, various components, in depth, right from comprehension to summary writing to writer's effects, and a lot of other components, a lot of other plans this year, a lot of other things in store. So please do fill up the form and we can help understand. Manish sir, over to you, if I may ask you to just share that Google form.
Okay, Abhinandan, there is one more question before Manish takes over. Stage 7 must begin the new curriculum this year. Absolutely. So how soon the latest books and the guidelines will be available?
The books are available, already available. The books are available on Collins' site. So Manish sir, you have to.
Yes.
I would request.
Yes, Manish, over to you.
Once again to share the login details.
Yes, yes, definitely. A very big thank you, Abhinandan sir, for your knowledge and perspective. We at Collins team has also learned a lot in this particular seminar that you have conducted. And there are, the chat, the WhatsApp chat, the chats which are coming in are, the links that teachers are really looking forward to. So me and my team would definitely share those links as we have received your email addresses, and we will get back to you with the login credentials. Right. We have Om Sivaramakrishnan in South. We have Kamlesh, who looks after Karnataka as well as Maharashtra. And we have Chandan Singh, who looks after Gujarat and Mumbai. So these are the three people who will definitely get in touch with you. And if there are any queries, you can just call us back on the numbers that are provided on the email address, or else you can write to schoolsupport@harpercollins.co.in. We'll be happy to address your queries. Now, as sir was mentioning, what we are doing is that we are taking a step forward uh, by actually showing you all what can we do in personalized workshops. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Manish.
It is. Okay. So here is a small Google Forms which we'll be sharing with each and every teacher who has attended the session, and it's a normal form which has to be filled with contact details, email ID, which are the curriculum and the grades that you offer, you teach, how long you have been teaching the lower secondary checkpoint, right? How well versed are you with the existing syllabus? You give your answers here. What are the challenges you are facing in the current syllabus? Okay, right? So these are the small questionnaire which will help us address your queries. And what we are looking at is something of this particular, how well versed are you with new syllabus, and would you like to have a face-to-face workshop on the lower secondary checkpoint? So we at Collins would like to extend this opportunity to all the teachers and the school's presence here, so that you fill in this form, tell your gaps where they are, and Abhinandan sir and any member of our team would be coordinating with you all, and we can have a face-to-face workshop of the lower secondary checkpoint for English.
And
So
also eventually for IGCSE first language English and
absolutely.
English as
Yeah.
a second language.
Yep. So if you're keen, if you're not keen, you're unsure, you please inform us, and we'll be more than happy to revert back to you with queries. So this is a small Google Forms which will come to you, and all your questions will be addressed.
Yes.
So is there anything more which I can? I could see some chats coming in.
Yeah, they're asking for webinars for ESL. Yeah, definitely we'll be planning up a webinar on ESL very soon.
Definitely, yes.
I've been thinking on that as well.
Definitely, yes. We'll do that.
So
And,
I would request Manish, if I may interrupt you over here, I would request the participants on board to even write to me to my email ID and let me know which are the elements of IGCSE English, both for first language and for second language English. You want which are the components in detail you want me to take up a session on, so I can definitely work on that. And I'm sure Manish sir will help me organize a session.
absolutely, yes,
on that.
yes. So
Manish, there are teachers here. They're asking, what about Delhi and NCR? If you have people there who can coordinate with them for Collins resources.
Yes, we do have. We have Saurabh Kakkar and Indranil Datta. So we will share their email IDs as well and their contact details.
Okay, and there's one last question for Abhinandan. How important it is to follow all the suggested units given by CLS in each stage?
Oh, it is absolutely important, because if you do not follow all the components, then there might be some kind of loopholes that might be experienced by the learners. So that's exactly why the best part of using college resources is they are curated in such a manner that throughout the year, even if you have 3 terms, it's very easy for you to create your lesson plans and work your way through that. So it's very wonderfully curated. I mean, thanks to Team Collins for that. So it's really good.
Okay, and this is probably the last question of the evening. How do you prepare grade 6 students to take up stage 7?
How do you prepare grade 6 students? So yeah, as I mentioned, you start off with the stage 7 student book and the workbook and the resources, and the gaps to fill the transition will be taken care of over there itself. I saw someone mention the chat box, ESL listening and speaking. Yes, I'm an accredited examiner from Cambridge University Press. I'm accredited by CAIE to conduct speaking examination. So yes, we can take up a session. We can actually conduct a webinar on listening and speaking components. That will really work well.
Okay.
Paula Paul
So
raised
teachers,
Yes,
yes, and teachers are all eagerly waiting for your other sessions on ESL and other topics. So we will definitely get in touch with you. Team Collins, Manish and team, they will get in touch with you for all the details. And you please to fill up the Google form that has just been shared with you, and our team will get in touch with you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Just to answer Kiran Merchant's question, yes.
Yes.
I think you need to complete that in grade 5. Stage 6 has to be completed in grade 5. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. Your session was a wonderful one, as usual. We got to learn so many things from you. And thank you, Manish and team, for organizing this event. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you and having an enriching association with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Have a great evening ahead.
Same to all.
Thank you so much, Ahana. Thank you so
Lovely
much, sir.
Thank you.